I think we're live. I think. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Pop out our chat real quick. Let me know where you're listening from. Everything sounds good, audio or not, all that sort of stuff. I've just got a few more figures that I got to compile real quick. And we should be good to go. I see some chat starting to roll in. Let me know if the sound is good, everything. I also run on a stream delay, so if I feel like I've repeated myself, then I apologize. It delays a couple seconds for the purposes of creating a bottleneck for the data so that it's basically pushing it out. So there's been some really strange audio sync problems lately, and I've sort of always used that desync for the purposes of being able to, like, if I have a guest on or something like that, then we can kill the stream if they do something stupid. But California Stan, yes, Triggerology, nice. All right, I'm glad to hear that you guys can hear me and all that sort of stuff. We got a fair amount of stuff to talk about today. Normally, we do those live streams on Sundays. However, this week, somebody says, VSO, please take a minute to watch Ballistic High Speed's latest 50 BMG video. It'll change your stance on whether 30-06 would blow out a bunch of tissue on exit. 50 BMG is not 30-06. 50 BMG, I've seen the video in question. 50 BMG is a completely different animal, and it disobeys so many different rules. So, last week, we did not, I want to make sure I didn't lose my place. So, I know this is a strange time to do live streams. Normally, we do a live stream on Sunday. However, tomorrow, I will be unavailable to do that live stream because I have to go to a christening. I am not Catholic, but my father is the pastor of our church. He runs two services that are not co-located, so they are spatially separated by about 30 miles, and they're obviously at different times. And to accommodate that, and he cannot go, he would have to cancel one of the services to attend with my mother, her side of the family. So as the oldest son, I have to escort my mother. So I will be attending that, even though I don't believe in sprinkling babies. But, you know, if we want to fully immerse the child, then, you know, maybe. I'm just kidding. No, I am one of the, that is a decision that you make when you are a sentient being. But, you know, different people have different customs, not trying to knock it or anything like that. But, yeah, so family function must go. And then next week, I will be out. So I can't cancel the live stream 2 weeks in a row on you guys. So we're having the live stream today. Thank you for tuning in on your Saturday. I do believe it is Saturday, right? I'm pretty sure that it's Saturday. Anyway. So because last week we covered very heavy Charlie Kirk stuff, we did not have a giveaway because I thought it was very uncouth. It was a very serious stream. Today is considerably more tongue-in-cheek. So we are going to do a double giveaway here today. And the first contest, you know, you guys know how we do this. We do a contest. Whoever has the best comment wins. Preferential treatment on the live chat, but we will also be looking at the video VODs and the VOD comments, and we will, if we have to, we will go there. First one, really low-hanging fruit, best ATF joke. That's winner one, all right? And then two, we will go ahead and go to our first topic today, which is the Halo pistol. Let's look at this thing wherever my stream figures are. So this is from Ride Out Arsenal. It's kind of taken the internet by storm, and they're currently looking for folks to contact them to review their product. Basically, is what this is the Dragon from Ride Out Arsenal. They're basically shopping around for a whole bunch of people that are going to give them good reviews and stuff like that. So several of you have tagged me on their X post, and I've seen it. My response is ick. Springfield Armory magazines, which that tells me that they are not switched on to the problems with Springfield Armory, the controversy surrounding Springfield Armory. If they were going to use that magazine from the ground up, they either don't know about it or don't care about it, in which case that's not really a company that I want to work with. However, what I will say is, you guys have said, hey, we'd like to see you do that, but I'm going to tell you right now that this is the same crap that the people from Hudson did, right? It's all pre-order prototype type stuff, and they're trying to crowdsource the actual production off of the initial run of folks. Look, it's not. I very strongly caution you on being one of the people that is the test bed for this thing. Because if it's anything like the Hudson, when it showed up to SHOT Show, they had to have like 10 fucking guns taken apart on the line to be able to get one gun to run. What's wrong with Springfield Armory mags from Mike B is that they are made by Springfield Armory, and all Springfield Armory products are a no-go. They are a trader brand, absolutely unacceptable, not a thing that I will promote. However, since this is not a Springfield Armory weapon, I have to at least try to be objective. And I will say it like this. If Ride Out Armory contacts me and says, hey, we really want you to review our pistol, they can book a slot on the schedule. I will offer them a slot on the schedule. They can have it, since you guys have sent it to me and would like me to do it. However, personally speaking, I have very strong opinions about sourcing the first run of of funding the first production run of your guns off of these, off of your first wave of customers. I got real problems with that. And I want to make sure that here, let me find, let's see. Here we go. Because they got prices all over the page, I want to make sure that I'm not showing prices or anything like that to make it seem like It says their launch strategy is a pre-production samples are available now for review by verified content creators. If you would like to get a Dragon for review, reach out to us. Ordering will open in August 2025 with the initial release of 100 first edition models. These will be uniquely marked with whatever serial number, first edition engravings, and will come with a customized Pelican hard case with a full loadout of accessories, including Trigon SRO, optic, etc., right? Deliveries for the first initial release will start in Q1 2026. Just so that you guys know, this gun, first edition, has a price tag of $5,200. This is them saying, hey, we're going to test it out. We're going to blah, 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 blah. And then the price will probably come down from there. But they're basically trying to make their whole nut on this thing on the first run. You're going to pay for that. You're going to have all the problems for the first run, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, absolutely not. Somebody says if it's frozen, you can't. What are we talking about here? Let's see. Somebody says, don't take my money. All right. So I don't know if there's a joke that I must have missed the initial two in the live chat. So I apologize for that. So what I'm telling you is when it comes to this thing, those first guns that go out to reviewers are going to be cherry picked from a select group of pre-production samples. They're going to be gone over with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that they're in flawless condition, and they're basically going to be shopping for people that want to either do it for free, shoot their own ammo, spend their own time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or we'll give them a positive review. That's what they're going to be looking for in the first wave that goes out there. Those guns will be picked over, make sure that they're in good working order, and they'll probably have some kind of agreement that you got to sign that says if you've got a problem, you contact them, all that sort of stuff, which is a courtesy that I provide when I review any product is, hey, if this is not representative of the performance of your product, then we want to make sure that we're conveying what is representative of your product. Because remember, I live the range that I basically live on is the Bermuda Triangle of guns. And shit breaks out here. It just does, right? How can they tell me if that weapon is representative of their product or not with any real data if they're sending out pre-production samples? No. I do prototype work, don't get me wrong, but most of the time that prototype work is a year ago, before they've actually launched the product. So they want you to buy this thing based off of those cherry-picked reviews that you're going to see. And they want you to believe that that is the gun. And then they're going to make those guns between now and Q1 sometime. And then you're going to get your pistol that you paid $5,200 for. Do not fucking do that. Do not do that. So, the second joke today, so the second winner is, hang on. Come up with a joke about this, okay? It shouldn't be all that hard, but the second winner of today's giveaway is going to be whoever makes the best Ride Out Armory or Arsenal profiled joke. And so we are all on the same page here. The prize pack is a first form value pack. So it is their meat sticks and their protein bars. And it's going to be assortment, 4 flavors of each out to you guys. And whoever has the best ATF joke and whoever has the best Ride Out Arsenal Dragon joke will both be winners of a prize pack. And that determination will be made tomorrow sometime, basically, after about 24 hours of percolation from the publishing of the VOD of this stream. So that is with it. We will hit on those periodically as we go through the rest of the live stream today. So continuing with the live stream, do you guys want to do the Franklin Armory thing now, or do you guys want to do politics first? Because we've got both here. It's up to you guys. Whoever hits it in chat first will make the determination. Are we going to make fun of either Kash or Bondi, or are we going to talk about Franklin Armory? Let's see. V for me. No, it could be a bad images on the computer joke about the ATF. It could be that. I just won't be able to repeat it. So, it's up to you guys where we're going. Whether we make fun of Bondi and Kash, or we go to Franklin. All right, Franklin's up first. Franklin Armory. We talked about Franklin Armory the last 2 days, and yesterday I did a video where I talked about how the antithesis basically lasted 2 days, and then it was pulled off of the internet. I got it first thing in the morning. One of you guys hit me at like 4:30 in the morning over this, and I'm like, I wake up about 5:30, depends, but I was basically sitting there cuddling with the dog and reading my email, drinking my morning coffee, and I just see these messages, hey, this is gone, hey, this is gone, hey, this is gone. So basically, you guys brought it to my attention. I was the first person to make a video about it, and at that time, we didn't have all the information. Well, today, I'm going to bring up to you what basically happened, and I'll read you the statement from Franklin Armory, and we'll then talk about what the antithesis is for those of you who missed it, and from there. All right, so this is right off the Franklin Armory website. And basically, last night, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives requested that we voluntarily bring back all .556 caliber antithesis firearms in advance of the agency issuing a new classification. We were surprised by this in light of the U.S. District Court's ruling in Frac v. Bondi. Out of abundance of caution, and for the well-being of consumers, dealers, distributors, and voluntarily requesting all of our customers return their .556 caliber antithesis firearms for a full refund. All right. What happened here? What happened? So that you guys understand what has happened, they submitted to the ATF a 45 LC 410 version of the antithesis, basically. Kind of like hurt my brain. First form, save me. The Taurus Judge, where they had 410 and 45 LC in the same gun, right? But this is pertaining to a long gun. Remember that in order to be a rifle, it must have a rifled barrel, and it must fire only a single projectile through explosion of, et cetera, right? Well, being that it doesn't shoot a single projectile and it can also fire a multi-projectile round, that gun is determined to not meet the classification of a rifle and therefore not meet the classification of a short barrel rifle. So it is classified as a firearm. So what Franklin Armory did was they submitted this 45 LC, right? And then they created a multi-projectile cup for a 5.56 gun. I'm assuming, and this is, again, my opinion, my assumption, that they changed something in the chamber that would allow them to do that, to call that specifically built up for 5.56 multi-projectile cup. That may not be the case, right? That is my opinion. If they're going to make it on that determination, right? If they submit this determination, or they submit this product to the ATF, and the ATF looks at it, and there's some kind of substantive change to the chamber or the lead on the lands and grooves and stuff like that, and the ATF says, yes, this is designed from the ground up to fire a multi-projectile cup as well as a solid projectile, well, then they might win. Or they'll have to go back to court and do the same thing again, right? And hope that they get the same kind of ruling. So the determination letter was for the 45 LC and the 45 or 410 shotgun version of the antithesis. The ATF says, hey, timeout. We didn't look at your 5.56 gun. Send us your 5.56 gun. We're going to look at your 5.56 gun and see if it is. So if they made those changes, maybe okay. If they didn't make those changes, probably not okay. Because that's just a niche product. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Right now, the 5.56 antithesis is a no-go. However, the 45 LC 410 gun, absolutely, totally cool to go, right? So this determination letter that we talked about previously is absolutely good to go. Snake shot is already a thing. I see you guys in the I see you in the comments here talking about snake shot and all that sort of stuff, and absolutely snake shot exists, and I don't know why they didn't go that way with a whole bunch of other stuff and do a whole bunch of different variants. That's, in my opinion, that's what they should have done. They should have done, all right, 45 LC 410 shotgun, and then the next one should have been like, hey, here's some snake shot, and then that would have created a precedent, like, hey, we've done this for 22, and we have snake shot for that. Here's 9mm. We have snake shot for that. Here's 45. We got snake shot for that. See what we're doing? And then all of a sudden they come out with a snake shot cup for 5.56, and it's all in the line, and you've got a historic precedent of all that going down. That's how, in my opinion, they should have done it, but it's not what happened. And they already spent an inordinate amount of money doing this and an inordinate amount of time doing this. So this is where we currently are. So all the 5.56 guns got to come back until that determination comes out. And if that determination is good, then they can ship. If it's bad, then they'll have to go back to court. You see how that's going. The Reformation, there were lots of folks out there that were getting the Reformation and the antithesis confused. It was like, I can't tell you how many comments I left that were just like, oh my God, please pay fucking attention. Like, so many people have no attention span whatsoever. Like, there's the Reformation and the antithesis. They only share a couple letters together. They don't even sound close to the same. So the Reformation is the straight lands and grooves one that the ATF said is a shotgun. Well, they've now been caught up in the court over that, and they've determined that that is not a shotgun, therefore it can't be a short-barreled shotgun. So the antithesis is, the 5.56 antithesis is on the chopping block potentially. The 45 LC 410 antithesis is good to go, and the Reformation is good to go. So the Reformation is the one where they did that weird Nerf football thing a couple years ago to try to get actual accuracy out to range. That was dumb, because we all know that those bullets are going to tumble when they come out. And that was what we wanted, because I want that to be a rifle that I can fire inside of like the longest hallway in your house, be able to hit a reasonable sized target at that distance. But that bullet is doing sort of weird, wonky things in the air, and that means that if it hits something other than the target, then it has a greater chance of disintegrating on impact. If a 5.56 round hits like this in your drywall and your insulation and your exterior board and all that sort of stuff, it's probably got a sufficient amount of energy to hurt somebody across the street. But if it hits like this, if you've ever seen one of those rounds hit anything sideways, typically on a full metal jacket gun, which is not, or projectile, which is not a total metal jacket, a full metal jacket has a pour cup at the bottom. A lot of times the lead in those full metal jacket rounds will squirt out the bottom, and a lot of that mass is dissipated. Don't believe me? Go fire it into straight down into water, and you'll find that those bullets just disintegrate. Now, water is obviously not drywall, but what you're seeing is that round is going to disintegrate faster and lose energy faster if it isn't flying in a nice tight spiral. So awesome. Anyway, that gun is still good. So basically, this goes back to our very first thing, ATF joke. Make a funny ATF joke, because we all know the ATF sucks. So that is what it is. A lot of people are getting on Franklin Armory. I don't know. Here's the thing. The ATF, sometimes they'll do a thing where they issue a determination on a technology, and they'll say, oh, well, this is for everything, or this is for only those specific models. And even though they say those statements, and we'll use them basically interchangeably, they mean the exact same thing, which is whatever the fuck they feel like, which is unconstitutional, illegal, and should not be a thing. But this is the world that we currently live in, and it doesn't seem like they've really gotten a whole heck of a lot better since Mr. Driscoll has taken over at the ATF. All right, so let's go to the comments here. Somebody says they should have done 350 Legend. They can do a 350 Legend. They should do that. And what they ought to do now is they ought to go and do a whole bunch of different calibers and flood the ATF with them, with a whole bunch of different snake shot variants and shot cup variants and all that sort of stuff. Instead of sending the 5.56 gun, now they ought to do a whole bunch of them all at once, and then basically after those ones come back, submit the 5.56 to them. That's what they ought to do, because then that creates a line of precedent. So it's like, well, that one's good, 45 LC, 410 shotgun, good. Does it pass the snake shot test? If it passes the snake shot test, well, then everything just needs snake shot. See where we're going? And then it's like, all right, well, if all the snake shot passed, well, now we have snake shot for 5.56. We have the thing. If you do not uniformly apply the logic, then at least you've got a linear application of that logic, where it's like, all right, well, how did this become not okay if this was okay and everything in between was okay? You see where we're saying? So that's the way it ought to be. Now, the reason this is important, boys and girls, is because I want a 45 LC 410 shotgun one, right? I want one yesterday. Franklin Armory. Get with me, brother and sister. Like, absolutely want one, because I think that these should be absolutely everywhere, because it doesn't really matter that it's not 5.56. It is still a gun that would otherwise be an NFA firearm that is exempt from the NFA because of the technicalities. And if those are everywhere, then now we have a basis for somebody like Frack to come in and be like, really, Your Honor? Really? What's the difference between this gun over here and this gun over here? This is fine. This is not fine. It's essentially the same gun. All the same elements exist on those two guns. This one, the only difference is the caliber. That logic does not work. And then the NFA could be directly challenged in court. Again, we're coming at this from a whole different set of angles. Like, we got the one currently going on, the two different lawsuits going on right now that are like, hey, the tax isn't going to exist here in a couple months. So since the tax isn't being levied, then the registration is just registration, which is unconstitutional, like all that sort of stuff, right? So that's why it's important. That's why I will be having one of those. They're currently I currently can't find one, right? I wish that I could, or I would buy one, but I will have to wait until Franklin Armory returns my my phone calls. So, personally speaking, I think we ought to be all the way back at 1791, boys and girls. I see you guys writing NFA, GCA, Hughes Amendment, all of it out. Yes, absolutely. All the way back to 1791. That's the goal. But it takes work to get there. And sometimes we have to set that up. I, for one, am happy to buy a piece of that will be history, right? I am confident that both the Reformation and the antithesis will be a piece of history that ultimately spelled the end of the NFA. I do believe that is the truth. And I do believe that we will eventually prevail on that, but it just takes a whole lot of steps that are bullshit. And will it happen in my lifetime? I don't know. But I'm going to keep fighting the fight. I've been fighting it my entire life up to this point, and I've been doing it so long at this point in time, and I don't even remember how to not do it anymore. And I know that many of you are the same. There's a lot more gray in that beer. One of you assholes, a couple months ago, when I was like really grayed out, I'm kind of, it's cut short right now, but it gets really gray over here. One of you assholes told me to turn the old man filter off when I make my videos. That was not cool, although it made my wife giggle. She thought it was hilarious. So, yeah. Anyway. Yes, my excess site neon sign is off. The reason why the excess site's neon sign is off is because of the way that it kind of throws light. It does not have a fast enough cyclic rate on its would it be current? No, I don't think the resistance is high enough in it. And I think that's the way that it would work, right? I don't think the resistance is high enough in the sign, and because of that, you can see it cycle, and it creates a weird camera effect because this camera is way faster than the human eye. So looking right at it with your human eye, it's fine. This camera is way faster, so it looks really weird. And I leave it off for everything all the time because it comes off to me as not as viewer friendly to have that kind of every once in a while. I get out of phase and there'll be a blink and it looks weird. So anyway, the last thing I will say on the antithesis and the Reformation is that this is a huge milestone. It's still important. It's not as big a slam dunk as we initially reported. Just keep that in mind if you're going back and watching those videos, that it's still a big deal, but it's not the 5.56 gun that we all actually want. But I still want the 45 LC. So I do believe that you should consider doing that for the purpose. Somebody says the flicker is from the hertz rate on the camera, and the sign being, yes, but what is hertz? Hertz is cycles per second, right? So if the resistance isn't high enough in the current that's flowing through it, that would mean that the cyclic rate decreases and the shutter speed on the camera, they're incongruent, right? So it's like one of those things where you watch, it's one of those things where you watch like the helicopter blades that look like they don't move. It has to do with an incongruence between the shutter speed and the RPMs of the helicopter blades. Same thing here. We're getting into semantics. What I'm saying is that it looks like it blinks, all right, and it looks weird, so I don't turn it on. Anyway, that is not LED. I don't believe. No, maybe I didn't see any LEDs on the back, so it's yeah. But of course, I'm not going to profess to know how those signs are constructed. So anyway, way into the weeds. All right, let's go to politics, shall we? Remember, to win, best joke of the ATF. Winner one. Best joke about the Ride Out Arsenal Dragon wins. 2 winners this week. And no live show next week because I will be out. And obviously, this is replacing tomorrow's live stream. So let's go. Who do we want first? Are we going to make fun of Kash Patel, or are we going to make fun of Pam Bondi? Which do you guys want? They're low-hanging fruit, both of them. So it's not all that hard. Before I leave, somebody asked the Trump scorecard. Still in the tank. Still, ooh, big fly. Big fly. I've been getting flies in the office because the dog will be obstinate about whether he's going to come in or he's going to chill, and he realizes after a while that he is going to have to come in. And I've been leaving the door open so that he can choose to come in his own time, while I usually make him a treat or something like that. The vote is unanimous. We're going to Bondi. All right. Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to Bondi first because she's the easiest, and then we're gonna go to Kash to close us out tonight. But anyway, I got flies in the office because I've been leaving the door open so he can come in. It usually takes only like 30 seconds for him to finally figure out that, all right, yeah, we're going inside now. Usually he's tired, but sometimes I don't have like 40 minutes to play fetch with him all the time. So if you see a fly buzzing around, I'm working on it. I broke my my fly swatter yesterday trying to get them, but I didn't get them all. And they're egressing while I'm waiting for Finn to come in. And Finn is asleep right now on the floor over there. You can't see him down there, but he is. Anyway, so let's go to Pam Bondi. So in order to understand this one, you must understand that this is the use, we're going to be serious for a second. This is the use of Charlie Kirk's name and a concept that he absolutely railed against, which is hate speech. Hate speech is not codified in our laws. It does not exist. It is not a thing. Even what you might classify as hateful speech, whether it's you hating somebody or somebody hating what you say, you're allowed to hate what people say. It is still constitutionally protected speech. The legal line comes from, are you calling for violence or not? And we've seen some stuff happen in the last week or so where people have FA and FO'd, right? So free speech is written into the Constitution, First Amendment, to protect you against actions by the government. Congress shall make no law, is what it says. And that is abridging freedom of press, freedom of religion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? It protects, in the words of my colleague at Washington Gun Law, fantastic channel, by the way, it protects the fucking around part. It does not protect the consequences or the finding out part, which means that you have a right to free speech, say whatever you want, provided that you are not calling for people to go out and commit acts of violence, right? You are not driving people to go do that, right? That's incitement. That's different. But espousing opinions, whether they are popular or not, is protected speech, whether you like them or not. However, other people have the right to free speech as well. And corporations have the right to free speech. Corporations are people. They're just a legal person that has been created out of thin air. That's what a corporation is. That corporation has the right to express their free speech as well. And if those two things are not congruent, that means they can fire your ass. They can. They don't have to be the right to free speech. You have the right to say it, but you do not have a right to get paid by somebody to say it. So the people losing their jobs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, getting demonetized like Destiny did the other day, those things are corporations making decisions using their free speech. They don't have to align with yours. There can be consequences for free speech. That doesn't mean that your rights have been infringed on. It protects the right to speak. It does not protect you from the downstream consequences unless those consequences come directly from the government. The government can't throw you in jail for speaking. Okay. That was long-winded, sorry. Charlie Kirk has been on record multiple times saying that free speech does not exist, or hate speech does not exist, and the concept of hate speech is antithetical to the concept of free speech. Let's go to Red Flag Barbie here real quick. And I think
the anti-Semitism, what's been happening at college campuses around this country is disgusting, it's despicable, and we've been fighting that. We've been fighting these universities left and right, and we're not going to stop. There's free speech, and then there's hate speech. And there is no...
Stop. Bullshit. Wrong. This is supposed to be the top law enforcement administrator in the country. This is supposed to be the top lawyer in the country.
Place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything, and that's across the aisle. I mean, look what happened. Think about Josh Shapiro. What happened to Governor Shapiro? I talked to Josh multiple times. Democrat governor, Jewish. They firebombed his house while his wife and children were sleeping upstairs. It's a miracle. Nothing worse happened to, it's a miracle that nothing happened to Josh and he and his family are safe. They're traumatized, but that's what's happened in this world, and we are gonna fight every step of the way to show that you will face the most severe consequences if you come after someone and you target someone for their political views or for any reason at all.
I cannot stand this woman. I absolutely can't. Every single time she opens her mouth, I am aghast at the dumb that comes out of it. So there are a couple things there. She's conflating hate speech, which does not exist, and violence. The people firebombing Shapiro's house, absolutely throw them in under the jail. They should absolutely go to jail for as long as possible. They should be apprehended, absolutely unacceptable. Violence is not acceptable. Those people should be prosecuted. The concept, though, that you are going to go after folks that are using First Amendment rights, even if you don't agree with the things that they are saying. And this is one of the reasons why, for instance, whenever you see an editorial written by like Fox or CNN or MSNBC and DNC or ABC or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's never written by Fox News. It's on Fox News or CNN or whatever, but it's always a column written by so-and-so, because that is not the corporation. That is the journalist, and the journalist has First Amendment rights that the government cannot touch. The corporation, though, FCC problems. right? So there are regulatory things there. So when it comes to these folks that are using their platform to espouse hate or telling people to go out and do things, there's a problem there. But when it comes to them just saying hateful things, that is in the FAFO category when it comes to corporations getting involved in policing their own stuff, like the Jimmy Kimmel situation, which in my opinion, I believe that was there were probably underlying problems there, and this is just an excuse that they use to get rid of them so they can make their merger and all that sort of stuff, whatever. When it comes to hate speech, for the Attorney General of the United States to say that they're going to start prosecuting people for hate speech is antithetical to everything that Charlie Kirk stood for, and how dare she speak his name in the same sentence as such an idea. Rolling over in his grave. Absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. I cannot believe that this woman is this dumb. This is the person who is heading the Department of Justice right now. Do I believe that terrorist organizations like Antifa should be targeted by law enforcement? They should go after those groups. They should get their records. They should go and find every single person that had anything to do with funding those organizations and dismantle them from the top down. Every single person that gave $1 to Antifa should have an audit done on them. And that's just a process is the punishment. If they can do that sort of stuff to conservatives, they can do that to those folks as well. I'm not saying that every single person that gave $1 to Antifa should go to jail. That would be crossing a line. What I am saying is that that terrorist organization should be dismantled because they are clearly out there perpetrating violence. And if there's evidence of any involvement in that, dismantle it down to the ground. There are different chapters, different places. Some of those have done things, other places have not. You can start with the biggest incidents and work your way down if you want. But the idea that we're going to start policing people for saying stuff on the internet that we don't like, that's some Great Britain shit. That's some UK stuff where people are getting arrested for social media posts. That is antithetical to everything that America stands for. We have a First Amendment in this country to specifically protect against that kind of behavior. Absolutely unacceptable. Now, when it comes to, let's put it like this. Do I believe that somebody like Destiny or Hassan Piker or whatever the heck, do I believe that those dudes have done anything, given the current evidence that we have? Do I believe that those dudes have done anything that they should go to jail for? Absolutely not. I do not believe that they have done anything that has risen to the level of conspiracy. Do I think that they should be investigated to determine whether or not that is a thing? Perhaps. Perhaps if you can find a link in these Discord groups or whatever to those organizations, maybe. That's above my pay grade. I don't have any information to suggest that at this point in time. If that link is found, then perhaps. But right now, the process of the corporation that they work with, Asmongold did a thing a couple days ago where he was talking about the cost that it takes to stream for a single live stream. And he came out to, I think he said that it costs like 10, like, if you did his stream, he did it for like $20,000 or 20,000 people or something like that for 6 hours. It came out to like $8,000 for Twitch to run a stream, just a single stream. That's what it costs. So that, on top of all the hate that they're getting online for platforming these people, do I believe that there should be consequences on those platforms for doing, even though it's protected speech, do I think that we have to put up with that? I don't think that those corporations should have to put up with that. And if they enforce those terms of service, which there are clear violations of the terms of service, then there should be some kind of consequences for those guys. I don't believe that they have done anything at this point in time that has risen to the level of jail time. So, although there are some things that maybe perhaps during that investigation that perhaps the FBI will find on some of those hard drives that perhaps are unrelated but might land somebody in a problem. Circling all the way back, the concept, whether you are angry about the current state of affairs, we are a country of principles in our laws. I know that we've gotten way away from that, especially when we're talking about stuff that we care about. But when it comes to the First Amendment, the government going after people for saying things that the government doesn't like, that's not okay. When we go to the level of like the FCC stuff, when it comes to these people who are broadcasting on public airwaves that your tax dollars pay for, that's a regulation of a corporation. They can dick guys like me around all day, every day. They did it for the last several years under the Biden administration. Look at all the crap that they did to FFLs because their businesses subject to the FFL requirements. We had to jump through all kinds of hoops. Look how many businesses lost their licenses over just putting the period in the wrong point or misspelling a word or, whatever it is. Thousands lost their businesses because of that kind of thing. Same difference here with the FCC, right? The FCC regulates those businesses. If the FCC says, hey, we got a problem with your people knowingly lying online or knowingly lying on public airwaves, that's a problem. If they want to spread their lies, they have to spread their lies on their own platform, not on public airwaves. That's up to the FCC. There's a big difference there, which is, I think that late night television should go away and be replaced with documentaries. But, that's neither here nor there. All right, let's go to the chat here for a second. NGOs. Yes, NGOs are a problem. NGOs should there should be a law against NGOs. Absolutely be a law against NGOs. I would say, actually, I would go as far as to say that, there should be a mechanism. There should be a mechanism put in place that caps political spending on campaigns. And it should be a different tiered, right? Obviously, whoever's running for sheriff over here should have a different budget than somebody who's running for president of the United States, right? But there should be a legislative cap on how much money can be spent. Get all the dark money out of it. All of it. Clear, transparent, not even allowed to spend your own money on your own campaign. And you know why that's important? Because I think Trump is a perfect example of this. The reason that Trump, especially in his first go around, was so popular. I'm sorry, I did bee stuff today and I got a bunch of pollen on my face and it's making me sneeze and crap. I'm doing my best not to do it on stream. The whole thing was, he can't be bought. He has his own money. He doesn't need it. Blah, 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 blah. Right? If you play that logic all the way forward, if you take everybody's dark money away, and it all comes from a transparent fund, well, then you get the foreign interests out, and you eliminate so many problems. Absolutely. NGOs is just the tip of the iceberg. But anyway, okay. Now let's go to the one that Pam Bondi, low-hanging fruit. She's an airhead. She absolutely the worst decision that Donald Trump has made as far as appointments are concerned in both of his terms. not even close, right? Merrick Garland makes this woman look like I'm not. That's inappropriate. I'm not going to say that. Let's see. Mr. Patel. Mr. Patel. Where are we at here? 2 minutes 56 seconds. Turn the volume on, make sure that you guys can get this.
So my first question is on the assault weapon ban. Do you think that would be helpful in reducing gun deaths, Director?
Senator, if I may, I want to answer the question, but thank you for your remarks, especially it relates to my friend Charlie, and I share and relay my remarks, my sentiments to you. Minnesota has suffered untold tragedy in these last few months, and whatever creativity we can use to eliminate even just one shooting, one horrific death, I am in favor of engaging with Congress fully to do. I don't have the answers. I don't know what will eliminate it in its entirety, but I'm willing to engage and explore new ways with you, Senator.
Okay, thank you. And so assault weapon ban, what do you think?
Senator, I think there are instances on this legislation that could prevent future attacks, but I'm not going to weigh into the creation of legislation.
Could you also look at, and I favor just assault weapon ban, not getting these guns in the hands of people that shouldn't have them, but could you look at the numbers on the ages?
Yes.
Because from 18, even going from 18 to 21, which wouldn't have prevented the shooter in Annunciation Church from purchasing that gun. He purchased several the same day. Over 100 rounds were fired from the assault weapon through the stained glass windows. So if you went up to 25, it would have stopped that immediate purchase and probably saved the lives of these kids. But if you go to 21, that is the same age that already applies to purchasing handguns from federally licensed dealers. So I prefer another approach, but I was hoping that our Republican colleagues would at least look at that, given Uvalde, Buffalo, and some of these other mass shootings, trying to be practical, but thinking that it could make a major difference. Strengthening background checks, could you also look at that? And then banning ghost guns and bump stocks. What do you think of that?
So, Senator, you're talking to my heart here on one of the core missions at the FBI, which is our CJIS facility in Winchester, Virginia, which is our hub for our NICS checks, our NCICs, our capabilities on when we have, I think it's 19,000 state and local community law enforcement come to us for these background checks. We're trying to make that processing as fast as we can so we can get them real-time information. I think we have a 93% clearance rate in 15 minutes as it relates to ghost guns, but we can do better.
All right, well, just if you could get back to me on all those and talk to the White House.
Absolutely deplorable performance by Kash Patel. Fire this man. Absolutely. I was a fan of fire this man now. Absolutely. Right after Pam Bondi, out the door, had an opportunity to say absolutely not. Multiple opportunities to say absolutely not, and he slipped on his dick like 3 separate times. Well, we could look at it, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. Absolutely bullshit. You put on top of that the absolute incompetence and lack of transparency that we have seen with the Charlie Kirk assassination and all that sort of stuff. And they had the Epstein files, and now he's on record saying that that Epstein trafficked children to no one. Bullshit. Bullshit. Fire this man. Unfit. Absolutely unacceptable that he would stand there and even entertain the idea of unconstitutional raising the age, unconstitutional bans, red flag laws, Gersh guns, bullshit. Absolutely unacceptable. I had so many opportunities to say, no, absolutely not. That is against the Constitution of the United States. The FBI stands with the Constitution of the United States, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So easy. These people are not like you. They do not have principles. It's whatever they feel is going to be politically expedient at the time or place. Whatever they feel is going to do the most service at the time, they will flex and bend and say whatever the fuck it is they feel feels good at the time. If he had a single principle in his entire body, he would have said absolutely not. But he didn't. He didn't. Unfit to serve. Fire this man. Right after you fire his boss at the Department of Justice. Absolutely disgusting to me. The other possibility is that he's dirty. Maybe he's just as dirty as everybody else who's in the room. Did they find something on him? Maybe he's got some images somewhere. Look, man, I'm gonna put it like this. When the government finally comes for me, because they will eventually, okay, I will say something that Pam Bondi started with this hate speech shit. We're going to start arresting people for posts online. I'm going to say something to a future, probably not this administration, but future administration somewhere that are not going to like. They're going to go get that guy. They'll roll me up. I promise you that I do not have any images on my hard drive of somebody that I'm not supposed to have. Okay? Personally speaking, I'll just go right out and say it. I prefer lesbian porn because I know that it's all fake. Okay? But whatever. Not going to have it, but I know that when they finally roll me up and they try to pin some kind of political activism on me, how do you get somebody to fade into the ether? Nobody cares about them anymore. Well, we found these bad images of people that they're not supposed to have on their machine, and everybody stops paying attention to that person because they're a horrible person. This is now a meme, right? I can promise you that I do not have that sort of stuff. I have no interest in that sort of stuff whatsoever. That is not my kind of thing. Okay? Now, I suppose maybe the other thing is whenever I'm forced to go to an adult establishment for some kind of like bachelor party or anything, I have always so I'll tell a quick story. So we went to Nashville for one of my buddies' bachelor parties, and I was in charge of that aspect of it because one of my friends was married to the girl on the billboard. Okay, so I made a couple phone calls. We showed up, right? And we had a handler. I forget the dude's name. And they sat us at a table, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, you guys need anything, you know, let me know, you know. He comes up to us and says, hey, how you guys doing? And I said, hey, how do I get my buddy bachelor party? And he knows this. All the guys know this. He tells this story in front of his wife because it's hilarious. I asked him, I'm like, how do I get your girls to beat the ever-living shit out of him on that stage? And he says, well, sir, unfortunately, due to Nashville ordinance, we can't have any patrons on the stage. It's just the rules. And I'm like, all right, well, that's sucks, but that's fair. You know, we can't do that. Got it. Cool. And I was like, well, what about the private room? in the back. And he's like, well, that we can do. I was like, do you have a particular dancer that you would suggest? And he cut me off. He says, Ratchet. You want Ratchet, right? So he brings us the girl. We interview her. She's got like the bicep vein and everything. I was like, this is going to be perfect, right? So she proceeds to beat the ever-living fuck out of him for a solid 30 minutes. And it didn't cost us all that much money. By the time by the time that we paid everything, we distributed it against all the dudes, right? I asked every single one of them when they left, we were leaving the room, and they were handing me their money so that I could pay the bill, you know. And I asked each one of them. I was like, "Hey, did you get your money's worth?" And they're like, "Can we get an encore? How much can we pay for another 30 minutes?" Right? And the way that it works in Nashville is like you have the dancer has to be fully clothed to be able to touch the patron, right? So there was even none of that. So I suppose that maybe at some point in time, if they were to roll me up, they might find something like that from a bachelor party somewhere, maybe, but that's going to be the limit. So now you guys know the context if any of that stuff ever comes out, right? And I would hope that if that were to come out, you'd be like, Kurt didn't do that, first of all. But if you see something like that, you'd be like, yeah, he absolutely did that over there. All right. So now you know the context of my degeneracy, right? Now that was several years ago. I would also point out that multiple of those gentlemen have since been married. They have had bachelor parties, and I was not invited. I wonder why. Anyway, so we got off on a really, really long tangent on that one. I'm sorry. Kash Patel, absolutely deplorable performance. Pam Bondi, absolutely deplorable performance. Which goes along with our previous story, which is the ATF playing games again, not understanding what it is that they were looking at with the 45 LC versus the 5.56 gun and all that sort of stuff. So you could say that the ATF is the big G, if you want, which all kind of works together. That is a giant jerk circular firing squad at the ATF, DOJ, and the FBI all working around in circles on each other. And the last couple of weeks have not been great for the Constitution of the United States. We'll put it like that. And if you think for a second the Republicans got your back, remember that they had an opportunity to get rid of 91 years of infringement. They had an opportunity to do it, and they decided not to do it. They decided to keep a gun registry that has been going on for that amount of time, left you out high and dry, and now we're talking about half of the things that we talked about here today because they did not do their fucking job. Never forget that. Never forget it. Now, again, in closing today, we have a giveaway going on. We want, and at this point in time, it's probably going to have to go in the VOD comments. First winner, best ATF joke. Second winner, best joke about the Ride-Out Arsenal. Those two winners will each receive a value pack from First Form. I won't be shipping any of the energy drinks because the individual energy drinks are just really difficult to ship. But you will get a multi-pack of 4 different flavors of their protein bars, 4 different flavors of their meat sticks, and I actually found a box of Power Bars. I'm not a big fan of peanut butter, so I will throw in some Power Bars in there as well for those winners. Those winners will be announced in a post tomorrow about this time, once we have had an opportunity to go through all of the live stream, live comments and the VOD comments. Good luck to everybody. Thanks for tuning into the VSO Gun Channel. And I suppose, I mean, we could go all the way back through these live comments, but I didn't see any specific questions. I always leave it open to anything else that we want to discuss, but we've pretty much run as long as I typically run, so we don't really have a whole lot of extra time today, and I have to go to Men's Warehouse today to buy a new shirt because I have been unable to get my dry cleaning done for that christening because we don't have dry cleaners anymore. So I had to go buy a new shirt until I can find a new dry cleaner. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. See you on another one.